All right. Before I start, I want to mention what David said about speaking. I moved around quite a bit, and they have all their meetups. And meetups is a great place to have your own first kind of like speaking experience. It's a good stage towards like actually speaking at bigger conferences. And I've seen many people going through these phases of I have nothing to say, I'm afraid, through like I did it and it was horrible, but it was also amazing. And then, getting help, submitting to a conference, getting a first talk at a real conference. And it's really, really good for yourself and also for our communities. I speak quite a lot, and I spoke quite a bit, and I actually try to speak less. In turn, I try or offer others who never spoke before to mentor them, especially if you bring new perspectives into our community. Feel free to reach out. I mean, I only have so much time. I can't make promises, but I'm happy to help and give some tips. Like my earlier mentor was my good friend Jan, the founding contributor of Hoodie as well, and also co-founder at Neighborhoodie. And one thing he said that giving a talk is 10% content and 90% performance. And I have this shirt. Check this out. It's so good. Okay, and then one more thing. Before I start, I need to take a picture, and I can't tell you why yet. With you in it. Wait. Okay, be friendly because we will send this around. Oh my God, there's so much light. Okay. Hi, I'm Gregor. I am GR2M on Twitter. Hoodie, you can find out about Hoodie on hood.ie and offlinefirst.org about Offline First. And Neighborhoodie is a company that we eventually founded around the open source project to figure out a way to sustain it and also make companies like we think they should be. And there's also Irina here with me, all the way from Berlin just for tonight. Okay, not quite, but she's she came here, and it's really, really cool. And this is a low-profile dog because you might have seen that the internet is full of cats. So we decided, no, we have to change something. We need a dog to represent our community. So there's low-profile dog, and it has its own story, and you should check it out on Hoodie. All right, I will jump right in. And what could eventually go wrong here? I will show you Hoodie and what it does and how it works. I forgot something actually. I wanted to say thank you as well. So I want to just say thank you to Jacob, who invited me to speak here, and to David and Ryan and Omar, and to Honey for sponsoring us, for hosting us, and HP and Signal Sciences for sponsoring. Sorry, I meant to say that in the beginning. They stripped me of my notes. Can you read this all right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you see here is a very simple website that looks like this. And I don't know if you've been to other JavaScript communities, but I feel like there is a theme coming from the north of the West Coast, starting in Portland, who started Donut.js. And if you're ever in Portland, this is a really, really cool JavaScript event that you want to go to. If you're ever in San Francisco, check out Waffle.js. And then you come to LA, and you're like... So tonight I thought, we are hosted at Honey. And it just made me think we should do something about it. So I wrote this app. So I will totally hijack the event, and I want to brainstorm a funny, sweet name with you. And what this thing does is really you can just enter like Nutella. I want Nutella.js. Oh, I've heard Boba.js. And I don't know if you have other. Sorry? Taco.js. Oh, it should be sweet though. Like there's a sweet thing. Chocolate Tacos.js. All right. Cool. But this website doesn't do anything. So when I reload it, it's all gone. And the HTML code for this is very simple. There is some CSS here, some HTML, and then there is some JavaScript here. So basically, I listen to the submit event, and then I add the item that I just pasted to the list. What I want to show you is now like how to use Hudi to start storing data in the browser, which is already part towards making it work offline. And the first thing you do is you load Hudi from the Hudi server. So this static page is already served from Hudi. And you can load the client, which is just Hudi client.js. And then, if everything goes right.
SCR.
Wow. You're the man. Can you? Can I fly you into all my?
Live coding demos suck, man. It's great.
So let me just show the console. So now I have a. Oh, okay, this is small. Can you read that? Yeah. So now I have this Hudi client, which is basically the API for the Hudi server. And now I have things like Hudi store add, for example, where I can add like a new item. Or I have like Hudi store find all, which returns a promise that will show me the items that I currently have. And I actually have some old ones. So I can also do Hudi store and remove them all. Or maybe 1 second, I should probably clear all the data. OK, but you get the point. It's like I don't send some AJAX request to a server. I actually have JavaScript methods that feel more like jQuery or something that I can call in the browser. And this is important because if you're offline, you cannot really send requests. So we have to move the API to the client. And I will really quickly try to put this in here. So instead of just like adding it up there, I now do like Hudi store add an object with the name. And then I want to have a function that renders it all. What's this? Wait a second, I just have to copy something here. So I added this line here where can you read this in the back as well? Yeah. So I add a new item to the store. Then I have this thing where I can just listen to the changes in my local store. Every time something changes, it calls a function render items. And render items, I mean, it's not very optimized, but it will do the trick for now. It just finds all the items in the store. It clears the list first, and then adds them one by one. And I hope I did not forget anything. In theory, I should be able to add stuff now and reload, and it's still there. So that is already cool. So that's like and you see the theme that we put a lot of energy towards making APIs simple and hiding a lot of the magic behind to make it simple for you, so you can build apps just with HTML, open platforms, and don't worry about the backend. Now, I just want to make this offline really quick. There are different ways to make the actual application work offline. There's Service Worker that you hear about a lot right now, which is coming up. There is an old school deprecated thing called AppCache, which you shouldn't use anymore, so I will use it now. It's also because it's kind of funny because AppCache is deprecated and Service Worker is not available yet. So like when you try Service Worker, for example, on iOS, it will not work. But I actually want you to try this. So I will use AppCache for today. I also want to focus more on the data and not on the assets in the talk. So when I add this single line here, it will just load this AppCache, a manifest AppCache file. And the only thing I have to add is to say which files should it store offline, which is client.js. OK, and now if I reload it, and this is too big. I go offline, it should still work. So basically I can like turn off my server now and it will still work. So now I basically have an offline only app, right? But I can continue to use it and it still works, so that is fine. Okay. I will now remove this because this is causing a lot of headache, potentially. So, do it at your own peril. I will also like open source, like I have the code open source, so you can also check it out. And I've linked some information to AppCache and what headaches you have with it. I had headaches with it since 2011. So I just kind of, don't just rush in. All right. Huh. What? Yeah. Oh, how nice. They even like have this little triangle, like for, stupid Gregors like me who forgets. Okay. So we are back. The next thing I want to do is I want to show you synchronization, because storing data offline is easy. What really becomes complicated, and this is basically an unsolved problem right now, is offline sync. It is a problem that Hudi tries to address as a solution for certain use cases, but there is not really a solution out there. There are just a lot of papers and tools, like lower level tools that you can use that also Hudi is using under the hood. So I have to sign up first. So Hudi has an API. Maybe let me this bigger again. So Hudi has an account API. You see, like with a lot of interesting stuff, and I can just sign up with an account here with username foo and password secret, and then I should be able to add something here, and then open another browser. Sign in here with the same credentials. And sign in here. So now it's synchronizing. Okay, so basically, without adding like any new APIs, you can just. God, I'm out of ideas. Syrup. Oh, that's actually cool. So you see, like you have this kind of near real-time synchronization if you have connectivity. Now, if I just turn off the server, I can still continue to use it, although I'm like offline for it, right? So now this is kind of the whole offline first aspect of it. Basically, you don't really need to worry about whether you're online or offline. It really depends on the use case. And for this like kind of brainstorming application, you don't really care. Ideally, you can just use it whenever you have the idea. You don't care if it's uploaded or not, and it should upload it in the background, even if the application is closed. So now I have offline 1 here and offline 2 here. It doesn't sync because I'm offline, or in this case, the server is down. And now you see, like, it just kind of realized that it's back online again, and it just synchronizes it up. So it's a kind of, it does most of the magic. It does most of the magic for you. So the next thing that I want to do is, I actually want to have it sign in automatically whenever I open the page. And there was also a bug that I found that I really quickly have to work around here. I promise to fix this. But now, in theory, when I open a new browser for the first time, it should directly kind of sign in and show the stuff. Okay, and now we get back to my picture because I have a plan. You can actually try this out in your browser in a second. I just need to, oh, that's not right. Come on.
Hey, what's over there?
So usually when this worked, I tested this 1,000 times today. When I copy something here, I should be able to paste it here. That's a,
Yes.
no. Okay, I tried just one more time to just bear with me. If this doesn't work, then I will do it without a picture. I basically want to say hi to the other groups. Okay, that's very sad. But I will tweet this out now. So I say Portland has Donut.js, SFS, Waffle.js, and you should be able under this URL to actually access my computer. So
this is the URL that we tweeted out and put in the Slack that you sent me.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go to JS.LA's Twitter or the Slack, you should see this link. You don't know our Twitter, it's JS.LA. But not the word, but JS.LA.
And yeah, and for real, maybe something cool will come out of it. It would be funny. I don't want to rename JS.LA or something, but it could be a one-time event or something. And I really like Boba.js, just saying.
Too many connections.
Oh, these free plans are the worst. Okay.
By the might of JS.LA.
No, oh, whoa. All right, okay, let me try some, I don't know, you can okay, hold your ideas. Let me try something else really quick. Who of you does know Now? Do you know Now from Site? Now is a JavaScript deployment thing. I wish I would know that HPE is here today. Maybe I could actually deploy it to HPE instead of Now, but Hoodie is just a JavaScript application, and Now is a cool thing where you can just deploy a JavaScript application. So if the demo gods are with me and I don't make anything wrong, I can start it in memory because there is no database I can connect it to, and it's a read-only system. So it's deploying it now, and this will take a moment. But what interesting can I tell you while this is deploying? Oh yeah, there is another thing that I can actually show you. There is a cool, I think I also have it copy-paste ready here. So there is another cool API which is more relevant when you kind of build UIs and you want to notify the user that you are disconnected. So there is Hoodie connection status, which has the events disconnected and disconnect and reconnect. And then you kind of can start checking if the user is currently connected or not. And usually it's 3 seconds or 30 seconds or 3 seconds if you're offline, and just use 1 second now. And oh, it was already deployed. Okay. So I can say now alias, and I get this weird random URL and rename it to SweetLA. And if the demo gods are still with me, we can go to sweetla.now.sh. And maybe this one allows a few more connections. And yeah, you can basically just add some ideas and see if you see mine. All right, I will just move on. Maybe they will show up later. The last thing I wanted to show you is the connection status API. So when okay, this one has a lot now. When I go offline here, well, it's actually very fast now, but you can see I press this little icon here to simulate offline, and it triggers the event and it turns the page gray. Just for demonstration, but basically you can do like a little icon or something just to inform the user you're offline right now, your changes are not synchronized, which is also relevant API that you will need for offline first applications. Okay, so that's just like kind of to show you it's a lot of fun and very simple to build applications like this with Hudi. And you don't even see much about the offline APIs, it just works offline. And now my presentation app has a ball. Oh, come on. Okay, where are we?
Don't worry, we can edit this out in post.
All right. So this is what I did not show you. This is how you create a JavaScript, a Hudi application. You create a folder. You just create a package JSON, which you can do with npm init-y to just answer yes to all their questions. Then you install Hudi, and when you install Hudi, it also creates a start script. So after installing it, you can just say npm start, and that's it. So this is how you set it up. And while we kind of use CouchDB as our persistence layer, and especially for its replication APIs, Hudi does not really require you to install CouchDB, which requires like an Erlang environment runtime and so on, because there is a JavaScript re-implementation of CouchDB called PouchDB, which runs in the browser, and that's also what we use within Hudi in the browser to store data in the browser and also to synchronize to the server. And for local development, we use PouchDB on a server as well, so we basically just need JavaScript and no native extensions. And then to add the Hudi client.js, you add it through this script tag. If you use Ember and React and so on, you can this Hudi client is its own npm package, so you can also just make it part of your build. You then just need manually to configure it. Then we had these data APIs and the account APIs, and there are many more APIs. These are just a few that you can use to build your applications. Basically, what Hudi is in its core, it gives you data storage APIs, it gives you user authentication APIs, and it gives you background task APIs. So you can extend Hudi with like integration with third-party services or existing applications. And for that, you can use background tasks. How does it work? Like most other applications, there's a front end and a backend part. Hudi does nothing with UI. We don't have any template rendering or routing or anything. We are just the backend. So you can use for the front end whatever you want. But Hudi's APIs start in the browser. And we have this Hudi store APIs, which then uses whatever is available in the browser, like IndexedDB or for all the Safari browsers. We have SQL to persist the data in the device. And that is already an entire application. So even if you don't use the backend at all, you basically have like this Brainstorm app, for example. What Hudi then does for you is it separates the actual upload of the data from storing of the data. So there's a background process which synchronizes with the CouchDB on the back end, whenever there is connectivity available. It's totally disconnected, which means you never see any loaders. You don't have to wait until your data was persisted. Because really the problem is not when you're offline. Really the problem is when your phone thinks it's online, but really it's not. And you have very flaky connections and package loss and so on. And this architecture shields you from all of that, and the user experience is always amazingly fast. And then on the server side, we use the same replication protocol or like changes feeds as well to integrate with plugins. So you can do something like whenever there is a new suggestion coming into from one of the user accounts, tweet about it, for example. And because it's all open source and plugins are just NPM packages, you can just build these either only for your app or you can also share it with others. Yeah, and that's what's cool is, like my friend Alex said it, this architecture is like passive-aggressive roomies. You know, they don't talk to each other. They just leave each other like notes on the fridge. Like, who ate my yogurt and stuff? Because you can just put it there and then walk away, and someone else will pick it up asynchronously. So that's basically how it is. And your app is the Honey Badger. Honey Badger! Oh my God. Which basically means it's extremely reliable and it's independent of the connectivity that you as the app developer have no control and no access to. You don't know what the outside connectivity of your app is. So yeah, in a summary, Hudi is open source. It's entirely JavaScript. You can query CouchDB even with JavaScript. You can extend it with NPM packages. And we are very welcoming open source community. So if you're looking to contribute to open source, then Hudi is a great project to start doing that. Yeah, here are some websites. I will upload the slides after my talk. Okay, let's go quickly through offline first. Oh my God. You know, once a name is out there, it's out there and you can't change it anymore. This is what happened to offline first. And I think what we regret a little bit now is that people think about subways and planes, and they say, well, that is not a use case for me. But what offline first is really about is that you have full control over the experience, no matter the connectivity. And even like when you're in LA and your phone thinks you have LTE, more often than not, it actually does not have that. But your applications are not affected by it, and your users have a great experience. It is a progressive enhancement, similar to what mobile first did, or progressive responsive web design. Only that instead of focusing on the UI and like kind of like starting with the most constrained environment, a very small screen, we basically start with no connectivity at all and then progressively enhance the experience as connectivity becomes available. And what we say today is that offline first is reliable performance. This is what we try to get into your head, although the name is out there and it might be confusing. All right, it will be pretty quick. I just want to throw a few things out there that we can discuss afterwards, wherever your interest lies. When we say offline, we basically can separate into two things. One is the actual application, like the frame, which you install from the App Store, or you download the app to Mac or Windows, or you use like Service Work or App Cache to make all the assets available offline. And the other part is the data. And Hudi is where it helps you with the data. For one, storing it on a device, but also the offline synchronization, and especially caring about conflicts. One thing that you have to worry about when it comes to the application is there will be application updates. And that is something that can be tricky, especially like the data schema can get out of sync with the application version. So that is something that you have to keep in mind as you build up an application like this. And when it comes to data, really, the only complicated thing is offline synchronization. So if you have the possibility of conflicts, you have the possibility of data loss, and this is what you want to avoid at all costs. And if you see any product out there that claims it has offline support, you search for conflict on the page, and if it doesn't mention conflicts, then run away. Because this is not something that you can add in an afterthought. Like, this is an architecture you have to do from the beginning. It is not something that you can add, like handling conflicts easily once an application is done. So you want to make this right from the beginning. And remember, I don't want you to build your own sync engine. I've done that, and it wasn't a good idea. But for us, CouchDB is a very robust, reliable product with a very good replication API that has been re-implemented in all possible technologies, including JavaScript and also iOS, like Swift and Objective-C, and also Java for Android. So like all these like clients that talk the same replication protocol, so you can use that and build upon it, or use Hudi if you want to have a basic solution. There are a few things about design. So offline first is not only about tech. Like offline first is the whole thing. We want to make apps that work offline, and design is a very big aspect of it. The most important thing to keep in mind is that being offline is not an error. This is what we see a lot until this day. You use your application, you wait, and then you get an error like, oh, try again, couldn't reach the server and whatnot. And it is something that you want to avoid as much as possible. I mean, there are, of course, some cases where, like, if you want to log in, for example, you need to reach the server. But most of the times today, we can avoid these things and just get this out of the user's way and synchronize in the background. And then there are some really, really cool things about offline first, like, you know, added benefits that you might not expect. And I have these short videos. I don't know if this works. Oh yeah, like this is Minute. So this is like one of the first apps that we've built. And the cool thing is, because the application has all the logic and it can store data offline, you basically can get rid of the sign up in the beginning. Like sign up is where we lose a lot of our potential users, right? We need to have them to enter like emails and password and sometimes credit card. If you build offline first application, you can just let them use the app, because all their data is stored in a browser. And once they are convinced and they like it, they can sign up later and it will just start synchronizing. So that is something that you get for free, which is pretty cool. So like this one has like conversion rate of 95% because you just click a button and you're in, which like other apps just don't have. What is also cool is you can save all the time. So basically you can save every keystroke because you just talk to your local device. You can just store everything. And if your browser crashes or your app crashes or something happens, all your changes are still saved on the device. So it's just a very robust added benefit that you get. Actually, this app that I've just shown you is just like a side project I've built. It goes down every day at 5 p.m. 52. So when you go at 5 p.m. 52 minutes, I will be down for 3 minutes or so. But my users never know. Or when S3 goes down and all the apps go down, your app will not because it works offline. So that is pretty cool, and you know it will let your DevOps team sleep better at night because they say, well, at least our existing users are not as affected because the app continues to work even if S3 is down. Oh yeah, like here's just an example. You see, like I showed just this notification. You're working offline, but it's kind of like just to inform the user, but they can continue to use it. And that's what is a good offline state, as it should be, I think. Instead of like error and block everything like Google Docs does it, for example. So that is also very cool and very important, and goes towards the performance aspect that I was talking about. We invest a lot to move our assets, like JavaScript, CSS, HTML, closer to our users geographically, right? We use the CDN networks, which make it possible for the first page load to be, or like in general, to be very fast. But for the user, there's nothing closer than like device in their pocket. So basically, you can think of offline first as the final frontier of a CDN network. And the cool thing is, it's not only the app assets, it's also the data that gets distributed geographically. It's also the data that is on the device. So there is no latency with offline first applications. And then there are some cool, interesting security aspects that will open up. For once, you can have very safe applications that use sensitive data like banks, insurances, that only work within secure networks. And then when they leave the secure network and go to the customers, the apps just continue to work. That they can continue to add more data. They have like the history of the customers on the device. And then they come back to their office and the data synchronizes. And local encryption is interesting. Because we separate the local storage from the sink, you can rather easily implement local encryption, which means you never send unencrypted data to the central servers. So even if someone gets to the database, they still cannot read your data. Oh yeah. I mean, this is what they told us since 2001, and it's not happening. Like, this is kind of the argument, like, why should I invest into this? We just get ubiquitous connectivity, and it's going just faster and faster. And actually, this is not true. In the US, LTE slowed down by 50% last year, which nobody will tell you. But actually, I will put the paper on this. Because more and more people use LTE, and more people watch Netflix. Actually, the internet became slower and not faster as they promised us. Oh. Yeah, you see? This is the study. In general, almost 60% of mobile is still on very, very slow internet. And when you think about where kind of the growing markets of new internet users are, it's definitely not here in the US or like Western Europe. Like last year in India alone, we had 100 million new people who came online. They all have mobile devices. They all have slow mobile internet connectivity. And in India, you still have 800 million people without internet. And this was 1 year, so this is going very fast. And if you want to reach these markets, then you have to think about connectivity. Oh, this is something of interest for our, I've seen like dinosaur-loving honey friends. So do you know why this dinosaur is so cute? Any idea? That's a good one, but no. It is so cute because you see it so much. That's what the Google people told me. All right, I mean, that's for me. Sorry it took a little bit longer. Yeah, any questions? Yeah?
Yeah, so if you have two different users, can you share the same store?
Yeah, so the moment how it works with Hudi is you have one database per user. So they're like physically separated. If you want to share, you create another database for the shared data, and then you make replication between these databases. And if you're not used to the setup, it sounds really nuts, but this is how it works. So like if I share meetings, for example, with another user, I create another database which replicates between these two user accounts. I mean, this is how Hudi does it. Yeah, but it will go away like in the next CouchDB version, but this is how we do it right now. It will become simpler because CouchDB right now has not per document access. It only has per database access, which is why we cannot use one database for all users. But with CouchDB 3, this is coming, and these things will become much easier, much more performant. So, yeah.
Two things. When have you seen NomsDB?
What DB?
NomsDB, it's a content addressable vertical DAG. Anyway.
Yeah.
And the other was, how are you doing conflict resolution during synchronization? Is that an operational transform inside of CouchDB?
So conflict is just a valid state a document can be in. So what happens is CouchDB has an algorithm that always decides on all nodes which is the winning revision, but it will not delete the old one. And it will leave it up to you to decide how to resolve it. And in most of the cases, you don't care. You can just delete the other one, or you can automatically resolve the conflict. Like for example, if you say one of the revisions is a delete, then a delete always wins, and then you can just automatically resolve it. And then for a very few cases, it actually makes sense to ask the user and show a side-by-side view. But it's basically up to the user, and what we do is we just make sure that we don't lose any of the data. But yeah, there is a possibility of conflict still.
Cool. I think we have time for one more. You're going to go to the Golden Gopher if people want to talk about this more?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So last question.
Yeah.
You were saying for the local storage, it uses what's available based on the browser the user's using, is that correct?
Yeah.
So does that mean that the storage limits are going to be different based on the individual user's browser and the limitations of that storage?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
But
one
it's
person may hit a limit and one person may not.
yes. I mean, it's something that we have, to work with. I mean, these limits are rather high. As long as you don't store like videos offline, it's okay. And also, especially with progressive web applications, like with this new thing that Android is working on, where you basically can install a web app natively on your phone, you have like a persistent data API. So the user gets asked, do you want to allow this user to store data persistently without the OS cleaning up the data? And that's how you would get around it.
And do you
But-
have a way of knowing through the API at the client level
How much is
what
still
they're using?
the quota? Yeah, there are APIs for the quotas, but they are not exposed on like HUDI level. But they are lower level APIs where you can ask for the quotas and how much more you can store, I think. I would need to find that out, but I'm pretty sure there are. Yeah.
Okay, everybody please give up for Eric.
Thank you.